Welcome to Kicking It Local, the podcast all about the football community in South Australia. I'm your host, Johnny Kecko. Macron Sports Hub Adelaide are ready to provide your club, academy or organisation with all its teamwear needs. For inquiries or online shopping, head to macronstoreadelaide.com.au. And today I am joined with a goalkeeper from the Adelaide Hills who played all of his life at the Adelaide Hills Hawks and, this year had a year off away from football to focus on his music, but there's rumours he may be making a return to football. I am joined by Connor Hudson. Mate, thank you for joining me.
No worries, man. It's a pleasure to be on the podcast. It's like I've known you for a while now, man. So it's good to actually catch up and have a chat about everything. So yeah, pleasure.
It has been, as you mentioned, been a while since I've known you. I remember commentating. You're one of the first goalkeepers I've commentated in a game because it's been 6 or so years we've known each other, but now we get to sit down and talk. There's a lot to talk about from your side of things as well, and especially in your music side, because I work with someone that's in your band as well, in Zach in the band Lickety Split. So I know a lot about your band as well. Been there for some of those moments. We're going to chat about a bit later as well. Some big moments in your band's short history, but heaps to get through, I'm sure. But looking forward to that. How has the year been so far for you? Before we get into it,
It's been good. It's been good. Just been grinding. I've got a few jobs on the go, so just been working, and it's been nice to have. As you said, I had a year off, first full year off in a long time, so it's been nice to have a bit of extra time to myself, I guess, this year. But it's been good. Been good for the band. Been good for me personally. But yeah, no, it's been busy, man. Busy.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, we all know that everyone outside of football has a life, and you. Sometimes it's towards the end of before having a break. It started. You started having clashes between the games and your gigs. So we're going to talk about all that and how you juggle all that kind of stuff. But before we do, the early days. You've been playing at the Hawks since you're 10 years old, but starting football at a young age. Which one came first, football or music for you?
Music came first. Purely probably because my dad is an absolute guru on pretty much every instrument that you can think of. So I kind of had no choice. So when I was about 5, I was at Bridgewater Primary up in the hills at the time. So Dad started teaching me guitar when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and then drums came pretty soon after. So I was always sporty. I was always fully indulged in sport. I always would go out and kick footy with my mates, or kick the football with my mates, or the footy.
Yeah.
Play cricket as well. So I was always a very sporty guy, but the music started first. But yeah, the sport and the football came not long after.
Were you heavily into music with going to lessons and stuff like that, or just mucking around with the guitar back in those days?
It was not too heavily. I loved it, and to be honest, I was always as a kid pretty naturally good, I guess. Just being brought up around my dad, being around music in my very early childhood probably helped a lot. So when I picked it up when I was still pretty young, 5, 6, it definitely helped. So I wouldn't say I was fully into it, but I kind of cheated on the guitar. I wish I could go back, the guitar specifically, because that's mainly what I do now. But I kind of cheated when I was young. I learned some, and a lot of guitarists are guilty for it, but I learned some cool chords that sounded good and was good at playing them, and learned some cool songs, but I never actually sat there and properly learned guitar probably how you're supposed to learn it. There's all different ways to learn it for everybody, but yeah, I think having the music there and having Dad there early days definitely helped me with that. But I think looking back on it now, I probably could have been a little bit more into it, but I was still young, man. That was early days.
It could be. It's unique the way you learn it, because if you learn one different way, you're different to everyone else that's playing guitars that learn probably reading the same book. So that's with football, same thing.
Exactly. Everything, school, whatever. Everyone, cliche, man, but everyone's different. Everyone learns different, and however you learn, just do it. So, looking back on it now, yeah, it was good to have that early on. But yeah, very thankful for my dad, for being that musical influence in my life.
Did they push you towards one or the other, or did they just let you go with the flow and find your way through whichever one you wanted to get into first?
No, they were completely supportive of whatever I wanted to do. Obviously, like my sporting side of things, like I get from mum. My dad can't catch a ball, kick a ball to save his life. So mum was always good at netball. My brother and sister were both sporty. My brother played. How's this? So my brother, probably get something wrong here. My brother played, who's 30. I don't want to get this right. Sorry, 46 now. So he's 18 years older than me. 47. Shit. He played for the Adelaide Hills before they were the Hawks. So we've been around football in the Hills for a long time, our family. So he played with the likes of Daryl Harvey, Benny Brindle as well, the Hawks goalkeeper coach.
Yep, he's still there. Yep.
Legend. Yeah, he's still there, legend. Anyway, sporting side of things I get from mum, but they were always completely like, do you think, like, obviously there was probably like a little bit of dad, really wanted me to do music, and mum probably, was loving the sports side of things, but always completely supportive of each other. So it was good.
So you found your way, obviously growing up in the Hills, found your way to the Hawks. Is that always going to be the number one place for you?
Yeah. I think I'm 28 now, which, it's still young, but like also in a football career, it's not young anymore, I guess. Still, the good years, but
for goalkeepers, it's not bad. You can last another 10 years as a goalkeeper.
Yeah, probably got another 10 years, another decade on everyone else, but we'll see how we go. I don't see myself at any other club. I don't know if I could, but if it was like amateurs or something, but I don't think at a higher level I'd see myself in another club. Actually, the only other club I've played for, football club I played for, is Bridgewater. Before Hawks, I started at Bridgewater when I was in under sevens, or I think it was under sevens, and then dad coached for a year in under eights, I reckon. So I did like 2 or 3 years at Bridgewater, and then I went straight to the Hawks. And I can't remember. This is where it gets a little bit blurry. I had a year of footy. I played 1 season of footy with the Bridgewater Raiders. I can't remember if that was before or after I went to the Hawks. I was still young. I was like, 9, 10 years old when that was all happening. But I reckon it might have just been before. It was either just before or the year directly after I started. Because we had a rough year the first year in the Hawks. We were under 11th. We got thumped. I think one of the games was 27-1 or 2. 27. It might have been 0 to Cumberland. We lost Cumberland 27-0 in under 11th.
27-0.
Yeah, it's a big one. I wasn't keeping at that stage, by the way.
Well, how do you deal with that as a young kid? Because there's a lot of debates on young kids being with keeping score or not keeping score. I know at that age you do, but what's your thoughts on that when you're on the end of it as a kid? 27-0. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a good point actually. Like I think probably nowadays there's probably more of an awareness about it, because it's like, it's, as a young kid, I guess it's a little bit disheartening to get thumped that much, but you're going to have that time in, like, you're going to have those kind of times, whatever you do. So it's under 7, under 8s, no, like just do what you do. It doesn't matter. I don't think they're even old enough to understand or care what the score is. They're just, having fun. But when you get into the 10s, 11s, like the kids, they want to start taking it seriously by that age. You know what I mean? Like it's still all about fun. Like it's, especially at that age, it has to be. It's always about fun. But like when you join these clubs, like the Hawks and every other, Premier League, State League 2 club in the state or country, there's got to be a level of like, seriousness about it. So I don't really see a problem with keeping score. I guess I was too young, or back, like it didn't affect me hugely in any way. I remember going like, that sucked, like that really sucked, but it didn't, like I didn't dwell on it. But some kids might. I'm not sure. So it's a good point. I can see both sides of it. I don't think we should cancel scores out. No.
With working your way up to the Hawks, being in the senior squad, which you were for a very long time, as the number 1 goalkeeper, How'd you find your way making it through the squad there and cracking your way into the top? Because as a goalkeeper, there's only that one spot, and some goalkeepers spend most of their time on the bench for their career. But how did you find it trying to break into the Hawks?
So there's a bit of a story behind how I started goalkeeping. So I wasn't always a goalkeeper. Up until under 13s, I was always sort of like a striker slash left midfielder. And there was this particular game when we had two goalkeepers in the under 13s. I think it was the under 13s when this all happened. I'm almost certain it was. We had two goalkeepers at the time. One of them was injured, and then the other one was sick on the day. So I had to go in. No, sorry, one of them was sick on the day, and one of them got injured at half time. So I had to go in at half time because we had no other keeper. And I was about probably a few months away from hitting a massive growth spurt, like huge growth spurt. But I did really well at that point. So I kind of just sort of snuck my way into a few games for the rest of that season, and then just found myself goalkeeping from then on, because I think my hand-eye has always been pretty good, decent enough reflexes, and yeah, I just fell into it, and then never looked back as far as goalkeeping was concerned. And then kind of throughout my junior career, it just went from one strength to another. It was just boom, boom, boom. I think hitting that growth spurt helped me a lot. Like in year 7, I was not far off the height I am now, which is about 6'1", which isn't tall for a goalkeeper. But yeah, when I was in year 7, I just shot up, so that helped. And then I went basically from Hawks to country and state championships, all around like Mildura and Port Lincoln and stuff like that. Then I went to zone, which I think is called sticks. I'm not sure if they still do that anymore. It's like the step before state. Back then it was. So you represent the eastern zone, western zone, southern zone, northern zone, and then there was country, and then I swear there was something else as well. But it was just like this tournament that happened on the weekend, so state selectors could go out and have a look. So I represented the eastern zone, although I could have gone for country as well for the Hawks, but Hawks was also classified as eastern zone. So we had Adelaide City, Campbelltown, Metro Stars, Blue Eagles. It was a lot of teams within our zone. So obviously your zones were selected on the teams within that zone as well. So yeah, that was cool. And then I had a really good tournament there, and then went straight from there into the state development squad, and had a really cool few years in the state development squad. Trained under some wicked, awesome goalkeeper coaches, played with some cool people. It happened real quick. It was really cool. I was so excited. I was dedicated. And I was probably in year 9 or 10 at this age, so 13, 14. Still a giant. And then, so I had huge opportunities within the state development squad. My main goalkeeper coach at that point was Neil Tate, who is one of the best around. I'm not sure if he's still doing anything at the moment. I'm sure he is. I think he was at Port Adelaide for a bit. That's where he used to play back in the day. But yeah, played with people. I played with Paul Izzo, Ben Garuccio, Stephen Mork, Abel McBill, Bruce Kamau, probably more. Jordan Elsey was the year above me, but I played with a lot of incredible players that have done awesome things. So that was cool. That was like all right, I'm on something here. And then stepping into that, the senior program at the Hawks was obviously a little bit easier, because I'd have the intensity of training, the technical work. I was still pretty big for my age, but when you're stepping into that senior program, physicality as well, which you learn pretty quick, especially as a keeper. So yeah, it was from when I started goalkeeping to getting into the senior squad, it was a pretty quick but hectic journey. So
did you find that being in the hills made it easier for you to get to that point, to go higher and higher in the state level?
Being in the hills, you mean? Like
being in the hills in a different environment compared to being in the city, where it's a lot A lot of very concentrated with the amount of clubs up in the city.
Yeah. I think there's probably pros and cons for both, really. But I think the pros definitely outweighed the cons for me at that point in my life. Because I just love the club so much, and yeah, probably not having the pressure back at my club. Like there was a lot of pressure. Once again, there was a lot of enjoyment as well. There was a lot of pressure when you went to to the state trainings, and there was like 2 to 3 nights a week. You know, it was full on. Um, Especially as a teenager. But and then yeah, and then but I think being at the Hawks definitely it made me feel settled, which
Mm.
obviously as a footballer or anything you're doing in your life, when you're happy, things usually go pretty well for you. So yeah.
And you played with, as you mentioned, you trained with a lot of big names that have gone on to play in the A League and overseas as well. How that help you progress in your personal side of things as well, being around those elite players who at that stage were still at the same level as you, but now they've gone on to bigger, better things, and now you can see at what level they were to be able to get to where they are now. Do you reckon that? How did that help you progress yourself personally?
Oh, heaps, man, heaps. And as you said, it's a good point. Like we were all at that stage, we were, I guess, all on the same level, and it felt like that as well when we were out there training. But obviously, a lot of those players have gone on to do awesome things. Like when I first got there, the first year, so I did state in under 14s and under 15s. And the first year, Paul Izzo was the number one keeper. Like he was from get go in my age group, the 1995 age group. Paul Izzo was the best. Like it was,
Mm.
everyone just knew that. Like he was just a freak of nature. Like he's such a good goalkeeper, always has been. But I was lucky enough to be number two goalkeeper to go away to nationals with Paul, which was cool. I learned a lot from him. Just yeah, especially like goalkeeping in my goalkeeping journey. Learned a lot from him. So yeah, no, and yeah, a lot of other players as well. I think it made me realize, I guess, how much talent and yeah, how good and how big the game is here. Like it was like in Australia in general, but especially Adelaide specifically, because I was just looking at these players like even Jacob Melling at that stage as well.
Mm. Yeah,
Jacob
yeah.
Melling. Insane. The first year we went away, it was him and Ben Garuccio in the midfield. So Ben's a fullback. Sorry, I put my phone on silent. Ben's a fullback. Obviously now, pretty sure he's still playing at fullback, but he was a midfielder back then, and he was insane. He was like a crazy midfielder, and him and Melling together. But yeah, it was cool. I learned. I took a lot from that. In the under 15s when we went away, we had another coach throughout. So basically the process, and I'm not sure what the process is now, but back then it was like you went out to state trials. You got asked to come out to state trials. You went out to state trials. They selected a group of about 36, similar to the programs that happen, in international teams. Like you get a squad of 36. You train for I think like a certain period of time, like a few months. They select um, the top 22 players to go away. In the under 15s, we had a completely different coach throughout the whole state program until we got to nationals, and then the coach couldn't come away with us, so we actually ended up having Tony Vidmar, which was insane. Like I watched Tony, kick a winning goal against Uruguay for the World Cup qualifier. Also played an insane game in that game as well, and to be coached by him at the national tournament was crazy. So
It's pretty cool to be coached by someone like at that level. What was it? What was he like as a coach? And dealing with you, especially at the level where he's been as a player.
good. Like he was so calm. Like he was respected by every single player. So he didn't have to to get everyone's attention. He didn't have to do anything. He just had to start speaking. So he was a very calm coach. But I probably had I didn't have heaps on with Tony. I trained with Sassy for a bit when he was a coach as well. That's where I played with Awa Mabil. He didn't actually play in the state program, but he was in the Sassy program. I was awesome. I remember him being such a great person. Like he was just so nice. But yeah, Tony was great. He just went about it his way. He was so calm, but his knowledge of football was obviously incredible. Both him and his brother. So
Being around players or coaches like Tony, and then also players like Awa Mabil, what's it like seeing, well, knowing where Tony's come from, but also seeing where Awa is now as well, going to the World Cup and representing Australia. How's that feel to have played alongside him or trained alongside him, and you're here like watching him do what he's doing now?
crazy, man. Like it's full on. Like it. You never, I guess at that age, that's always your goal, but you never think that that's going to happen to your teammates and your players around you. Like that. It's never like, oh, he's going to be representing Australia at a World Cup, and and it's like it's full on, and it's been happening for a while. Like a lot of these players made their A League debuts, and they've been playing in the A League for a while. So
Mm.
I remember when it first happened, it was exciting. Like it was incredibly exciting for me. So I can't even imagine what it's like for them doing it. Like it's great to see. Good on it. Like it's awesome.
Well, when you uh, getting through that level, a younger level, doing all these things, but at a club level, and also when you're leaving school, focusing on what you want to do, you need to get a job. You got playing football. You're doing the music on the side. What was your focus like after leaving school?
Throughout high school, always my focus was football. Like it was always. I didn't do. How this is crazy. This is I can't even believe this. But throughout high school, other than the compulsory music subjects, I didn't do music. I didn't do music in year 11 or year 12. I kind of throughout high school, I kind of lost my interest, I guess, in music, probably because I was doing so much
Yeah,
football training and playing and stuff. I could still pick up a guitar and do my thing, but yeah, no, sorry, I just got a phone call. So I could always, um, yeah, I had it's weird to think about now, considering my life revolves around music. That in high school I didn't choose to do music. So, but then that side of my life kind of, came back after high school. So
yeah.
and I wouldn't say football fell off, but I guess it wasn't as much of a priority in my life as it was throughout high school. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's funny because like with me going through high school, I was in music the whole way through, playing drums. I was the top of my class the whole way through. But as soon as I finished school, dropped it and then started focusing on, well, working hospitality. But then obviously getting back into football in the media sense. But it's the tables are
opposite.
reversed. Yeah, the opposite with the two of
Yeah,
us.
crazy man, crazy.
But
Um,
it's funny how things happen. Once you leave school, your focus changes and you see exactly where you want to go and what you want to do. So, did you start going into original stuff or start making money from music at that point after school?
it took a while. It took a while for me to I remember I sort of got back into it because I was starting when I started singing as well was when I started really getting back into it because I was like, this is cool. Like I could play guitar and sing. Like
Yeah,
it was fun. It was fun again. Like it was really cool. Still putting a fair bit of time and effort into the club, like into the Hawks, to be honest. Like that's what I mean when I say it. Like I didn't want to say it fell off because I still have that. I still dedicated so much of my time and my life to football and the club and the Hawks. But I just wasn't I guess as driven to push as far as I could. I was still keen, like if the opportunity came up, but I guess because I wasn't surrounded by that program, that state program, and
yeah,
kind of, I wouldn't say got cut off from that, but just the opportunity sort of fell off a little bit throughout after that national tournament and the under 15s. Um, but yeah, no, I still put a fair few years into really concentrating on coming through the senior program, and I guess cementing my place amongst the senior program. But yeah, I think with the music came after. I was landscaping, as I said, um, which I loved as well. Did that for a few years, and then sort of picked up the guitar again, and really, started loving it again. Started loving playing and stuff. So yeah.
So you ended up going into playing in being the number one for the Adelaide Hills Hawks. How were those days being able to play? Because you would have been growing up watching the seniors. As we know, in the Hills, it's a very common thing. The juniors go and watch the seniors play and support them on match days. But how was it for you when you finally got to the opportunity to be the number one goalkeeper for the Hawks?
Cool. It was insane. I did it at a pretty young age, and the Hawks are good. The Hawks are a good club for development and bringing up youth and creating great players throughout their academy programs and stuff like that. We've always been great at that. So there was a lot of players that were younger, like Jacob Leckel and probably even Daniel Hosking and stuff. Playing in the senior program at a very young age. I to be honest, the first time I started for the Hawks for the first team, I think it was probably a little bit too early. So I went back in those days when I started my journey in the senior program. The first coach I ever had was a man named Raymond Blair, who's awesome. His family's from Scotland. He came over, played in the NSL here, I think. I think he played for City or Campbelltown. Can't 100% remember, but he coached under 19s. He was awesome. Great bloke, great coach. But I was in the under 19s for a couple of years, and then went straight from the under 19s when I was about 16 to the first team. And I didn't have that year or two in the reserves. I think there's obviously a huge difference between under 19s, 18s at this stage. It used to be under 19s, it's now under 18s, but there's massive step up between 18s and first team, obviously, but there's a huge step up between 18s and reserves. Do you know what I mean? Like in as far as physicality and just the way the game's played, I guess it is pretty different. So I think I could have benefited from that year or two in the reserve. So I went and I loved it. It was awesome. But I think going into goalkeeping more specifically, the mental side of goalkeeping and the mental pressure is, I think, my opinion, is the hardest thing about the position and the hardest thing about being a goalkeeper. And I guess going from an under 19s team straight into a first team, the pressure just goes, you know what I mean? So I think you need those years, at least a year in the reserve to really learn. And so I had a season where I sort of played the first little bit of the season, had a few, average games, made some mistakes, which is easy to do as a goalkeeper. And then sort of, I think that the coaching staff realised that, and they just said, look, let's see out the season, still stay in the senior the first team program, play some games in the reserves, come on in the first team, whatever, play a few games here and there, see how we're going with form and stuff. But the next year, I went down to the reserves, which I wanted, and I had a year as captain under Frank Pasquini, was the coach at that stage, who's a legend. But yeah, I think that year in reserves and getting the confidence up, being the captain, really helped me, and then feel like I was ready to really take on the first team. And then from that point, there was probably only a few stages in about, what was it, 8-9 years, I reckon, where I probably wasn't the first team goalkeeper. But from that point onwards, I was pretty much the club's number one, which was incredible, to grow up at the club and then to represent the club in the first team when I have so much love for it. It was cool.
Unfortunately, that is all for part one of my chat with Connor Hudson. Here's a quick sneak peek of part two.
Up to this point, 28 years and 18 years of playing, that was the moment for me. It was insane. I've watched United play there for so many years. It is arguably, and in my opinion, and probably a lot of South Australians' opinion as well, it is the best venue for all in the country. So to have the privilege of playing on it was unreal, man. Travis Barker, the drummer for Blink-182, see the story probably about 10 times now. So that probably matters more to us than the Backstreet Boys.
Make sure you subscribe to Kicking It Local wherever you get your podcasts so you can get a taste of the SA football community. Plus, follow at Kicking It Local SA on Instagram and Twitter so you don't miss any of the action. See you soon!